are the Bennington School, I guess. Have you guys all seen the Bennington School?
Raise your hand.
Raise your hand.
Seen the Bennington School.
Raise your hand if you've not seen the Bennington School. Don't be ashamed.
I don't know how literal you're being.
Okay, well, so the Bennington School is a blog that we started this past winter, and we wanted to make a space where students can post work that's maybe in progress or not quite as polished, because I feel like on campus there's the silo and there's plain china, but those are sort of publications
and you can be accepted or rejected.
Right, and part of the Bennington School is we accept literally anything that comes our way.
I think we've only rejected
and the posts we rejected were really bad.
And we're clearly not written as pieces of work.
One of them was a breakup angst.
A-grade message.
And we were like, okay.
We pretty much accept anything.
Yeah.
You can go to the website. The website is benningtonschool.tumblr.com, and there's a link that just says submit, and then you go there, you can format your work in the text box and just send it away, and then we'll post it.
Yeah, so when we had the idea for the blog, the submissions was sort of the main part of the idea, and we got it up and running, and then we decided that it could be interesting to maybe start to feature writers who either are currently at Bennington or have graduated, whose work we think exemplifies the kind of work that we do at Bennington. So where our submissions are a little more in the rough and kind of updated daily or however often people submit stuff, our features are meant to sort of highlight people whose stuff is really polished and stuff we think is really good. And so what we do is we have questions that we pose to these writers. We select them ahead of time. We come up with questions and
5 questions per writer.
Yeah, we try to ask about process, about how Bennington has influenced their writing. We've had a good range of transfer students, students who've been here for all 4 years, students who've graduated, students who are still here. So yeah, and we decided instead of reading other people's poems to you guys, we would read some of the answers to our features. Oh, yes.
Do you just post poetry?
No. If you have, we post fiction, we post nonfiction, we post internet poetry. If you have an image macro or something, we're pretty loosey-goosey.
And most of it has all been for people writing creatively, but if there was more traction for it, anybody at Bennington could submit anything. We've had visual artists submit who never studied poetry or writing at Bennington.
But that being said, we do try to limit it to writing. We had an anonymous questioner questioned us and asked why don't we accept visual work.
Yeah.
And that's just not my area of expertise. Brittany studied VA when she was here, but
I just don't think there are as many outlets for writers as there are for visual artists.
Right.
In general. So, but yeah, we're gonna read some of the questions and answers that we've had of the features over the past couple months. And you'll probably recognize most of these names because they're all from the past 4 years, students that graduated. So we asked Stephen Picarella, who graduated last year with me, how has the writing community at Bennington affected your work? Did you ever collaborate with other writers or artists during your time at the college? And he says, as I remember it, the writing community at Bennington was small and intimate, if protean and diffuse. We created spaces within which we could share our work and discuss the nature of the work. We listened to and encouraged each other whether or not any two approaches aligned in any way. There wasn't a lot of formal writing instruction, and there wasn't a lot of bare-knuckle, tear it down and build it up again criticism. There was a lot of celebration of the writing life. I ended up discussing and thinking about my work, often with poets or friends, writing scholarly papers in terms of larger questions about the purposes and possibilities of literature, or of art in general, or the human condition, or etc. I think it's the virtue of a Bennington education that I graduated a pretty bad fiction writer by most standards, with all kinds of ways of interrogating myself and my relationship with writing, and the ends I chose to pursue that a lot of really good writers might not have. And I mean that as a wholehearted endorsement and an expression of the utmost gratitude.
Okay, so this question was posed to Park Haskell, who's a current junior. We asked her, what inspires you to write? Is there a particular environment or idea that influences your process? And she says, I'm not sure if I'm inspired to write or if I just write because I have to. Sometimes I write while I'm peeing.
Amazing.
Catherine Henderson, class 2015. We asked her, your poems are very sonically engaged. How do you balance meaning and sound in a poem? And she responded, I think that when I'm writing a poem, the content tends to influence the sort of language/word/sound I use. Meaning-wise, I guess I'm concerned with the memory, the body, death, trauma. LOL, that sounds far more bleak than I intended. I wouldn't say that sound is subordinate to context/meaning. Sometimes I veered in an unexpected, to me, direction within a poem solely because a word sounds like another word and is semi-related, and I find it interesting. I've been thinking about my poems as spells or incantations as of late. How do you write a poem that sounds like it contains words of power, mystery, magic? I think that sound and meter has something more to do with magic than content does in this case.
And then we asked Ben Redmond, class of 2014, a question that Mark Wunderlich poses to all of our visiting poets, and that question is, what is a poem? And so, let's see. Ben says, in the end, I think it's important to recognize a poem, or maybe even just something that's identifiably poetic, for the very specific mental or emotional space it creates in the reader's brain. The point of a poem is not always its meaning for me. I think that poetry, like, say, a Rothko painting, accesses some part of us that is beyond language. And I think we get bogged down or limited by language, as it's so often all we have to describe a thing. I think this is especially true when trying to describe art or art's function. It reaches something in a person that is nearly impossible to translate. And in that vein, I think that's what a poem often is, an attempt to translate something churning inside you into something other than a chemical reaction in the body.
I'm just going to read Laura's. So the last one that we have here is from Laura Cresse, who's here with us tonight. And she graduated last year with me as well. And we asked her, do you have any advice for future Bennington College poets? And she said, take as many literature classes as your plan committee will let you get away with. So we're going to leave you guys with that.
Does anyone have any questions or anything?
And we have some
Little flyers.
and it just has the link of where to submit.
And we accept anything. So, and actually we do get a lot of traffic. That was one thing I wanted to mention that I forgot. Usually the days we get features, we have about 300 individual page hit people. So that basically means that 300 individual people on 300 different computers are looking at our page on the day that we do features.
That's fantastic.